pen name because I was in here the other day and Miss Davis was in here. Everyone probably knows Vivian Davis. And she was like, boy, you ain't use your real name. and I told her the reason why I use a pen name and the reason why writers use pen names is usually if they actually write in different genres. So since I write, and not only as a kid's author, I wanted to use a pen name, and I wanted to find a name that really stood out and represented what it is that my mission was. And someone, I think said the word Bright and put my name in TW. Since my name is Tremaine Williams, TW is for Tremaine Williams. But Bright is I actually got, you kind of formed Bright after my nephew right here. Can you come over here for a second, brother? Breslin he's a representation of Bright. So when you guys see the character Bright, he used to have what he calls crazy hair. But he's recently got his haircut. So this is Bright. This is who we made Bright after. And so I was TW and he was Bright. So when you go to my website, you see a picture of me and him because that's where TW Bright came from. But this young gentleman, he's definitely Bright. And he's a very sharp young man. And I think he prides himself on being a hero. He's always talking about how this is his book. Would you like to say anything, brother?
The artist is right. And I'm here to say that thank you everyone for coming.
And he said he wanted to come sign some books too, so, at the end, if you guys want to get his autograph, you can get his autograph. I also wanted to just take the time to thank Stirling Books for having me out. And actually just for supporting our community. I know they hold a lot of events down here. And that's really big, when a company is always, trying to support the community. So I appreciate them. And I say, if you haven't patronized them, definitely do so, for opening up your doors. And I don't drink coffee or tea, but I still want to patronize them. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to buy somebody a cup of coffee or tea of your choice. And so the first person who, I don't know if you all read the book, but if you read the book and anybody who can tell me the name of the bully, I'll buy. Huh? Tommy, okay, good, Tommy. So I know you don't drink coffee. You know what? I give you a t-shirt. How about that? Let's get a small t-shirt. Can you bring me a t-shirt? I'm gonna give you a t-shirt instead of a coffee, all right? But that still doesn't solve me patronizing them. So let me see. Who knows the girl who got bullied? Can I see it? Who knows the girl who got bullied? What's her name? How you go? You don't have it. I want y'all to take a picture with me and him, and if you have social media, I want you to hashtag Bright in the Bully and post it. Remember I tell you everything about social media. Let's take a picture. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so you guys can't answer, she can't answer because it's my daughter. What was Bright's best friend's name? Anybody know that? What other questions can I ask? I don't know. I'm gonna who want a cup of coffee? Just raise your hand. I picked somebody. You ain't got no coffee or tea? Coffee?
Chocolate.
Hot chocolate? Okay, well, I guess I'll just patronize and give them a tip or something so then y'all have to drink it. Bright and the bullet. Bright and the bullet. I also just want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank my mother and my sister and all of their kids. You know, they're a big part of this movement and my inspiration for this because you know we got a big responsibility as adults. You know, to leave a legacy for them, and or not just a legacy of wealth or nothing like that, but a legacy of positivity, you know what I mean, and being that light. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't have a whole lot of role models, and so I tried to do my best to be a role model for them. And I appreciate my mother and my sister and all of them, and all of their supporting this. Like I said, you know, I'm an author, but this is more of a movement, and it's not just about me. And it's not just about bullying, it's really about being the light of the world. You know, I believe that if we ever want change, you know, we as a person, and from a personal level, have to be the change that we want to see. And so when we talk about shine bright, when I sign your book, I say shine bright because that means that you have a responsibility to shine bright in this dark world that we live in. You know, we just got these shirts. I just found out about these shirts yesterday. They were trying to surprise me, so my shirt is a little bit too big. But I appreciate my mother going over and beyond, you know, getting these shirts made up. And Dana Reed, can Dana Reed stand there real quick? And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to tell you how this all got started. Dana is a classmate of mine. You know, we graduated the same year in 1999. And me and him, you know, we used to draw all the time back in Caldwell School. We were always drawing different pictures. And he was a lot better at drawing than I was. But I would always go and I would try to add little stuff to his drawings. You know, we draw these posters with Grant Hill and Isaiah Thomas and all these different people. And, you know, I was always blown away about how good he was at art, you know. But so we would do that. We started drawing dog pictures and all those different things. So I'm just trying to tell you, he was like my best friend back then. And I would go over to his house. We would eat hot dogs. My mom would cook for us. we always was just hanging out.
So specific.
Right? And so I've been knowing Dana for forever. And, you know, as we got older and grew up, you know, he went to college. I was doing my own thing, and you know, we was always friends. But one day, I felt like the Lord was giving me this idea to do something with some T-shirts. You know, I had been doing different little T-shirts and selling T-shirts and stuff like that. And you know, for some reason, he laid it on my heart to call Damon. I know Damon had went to college for graphic design, and he was doing logos. So when I called Damon, I said, look, man, the Lord is laying it on my heart to do this. I got this big idea. And he was like, well, you know, man, I want to tell you this, but I got the same, almost the same exact idea. You know, like he's been giving me this vision to do this apparel company, and he said I already got some stuff made up. I got some ideas. I had some different ideas of my own, but I said, well, let me look at some of your ideas. And when he let me look at the idea, he had a whole lot of different logos and things like that. But the one that stood out the most was the human light bulb to me. And I said, man, you know, I think that you're onto something here. And so he told me, you know, how you know, he showed me what it was. And this was in the rough stages, and he showed me, he told me about the company, what he wanted to call it and stuff like that. So we forged a company, and the company was an apparel company. It's called 215 Watts. And so we went off and we started selling T-shirts, we started selling hats and all those different things. Now, one thing about me and Damon, we're like totally opposite. I'm straightforward. Like, as soon as you tell me about an idea, about anything business, I'm going to go. Like when somebody tell me that it's going to take you 5 to 10 years, I say, well, how could I get that to 5 to 10 months? That's my mentality. Like if I have to work over time, I'm going to do this right now because I want to cut down on that time that everybody tell me that it takes. Now Damon is the exact opposite. He's very analytical. You know what I'm saying? He want to analyze things. He want to plan. And me and him was just talking. I said, you know, that actually forges a good partnership because somewhere we can meet in the middle. But so we started doing 215 watts, and we made up these shirts called Light It Up. You know, this the big light bulb, the human light bulb, and this is what I try to ship when I'm sharing with you. You know, the light bulb. If you really look close at the light bulb, you'll see that it's a light bulb, but it's a human as well, because it's you are the light. And this is founded off of scripture, Philippians 2:15. You know, I know everybody might not have the same belief as I do when it comes to the Bible, but I believe that the Bible principles are for everybody. And so I believe that you could get something from the word, no matter if you're a believer or not, you know. And so we started going hard on that. And the summer came, and you know, winter time, you know, because we were selling T-shirts. So we slowed down for a little while, and I was off of work at this time, and for some reason I was off of work, and I was off of work the whole summer. And during that time, I had a lot of downtime. I had a lot of reflecting and everything. And all of a sudden, this idea came up about a children's book. And I questioned myself, like, wait, a children's book? Like, you know, you never wanted to be a writer before. I never wanted to be a writer before. In fact, I was that kid in school that when it came to English class or anything to do with spelling or reading or something like that, I would put my head down and act like I was sick, because as a kid, I had this problem where if I wanted to read out loud, I would always mess up. And I didn't want to be laughed at. I didn't want to be, I really wasn't going to get picked on because I wasn't no little kid. I was somebody that if you picked on me, I was going to retaliate. So it wasn't that I got picked on all the time, but I had this low self-image when it came to reading. And so whenever I tried to read out loud, I would stutter. I would just look like I absolutely could not read. And so even as an adult, like it took me till I was about 25 years old to overcome this, you know. And I did a blog the other day, and the only reason I overcame it was because a friend of mine out in California, she said, you know, let's do Bible study together. And I said, you know, sure, I'll do Bible study with you. And we're going to call each other every morning. We're going to do Bible study. And when she called me, I started stuttering when it was time to read. And I said, I finally started to read though, and what happened was she didn't laugh, she didn't snicker, she encouraged me, she built me up, and this went on, you know, for a good month. And what I found out is that I had overcame that shyness, that fear of reading out loud. And it never was that I couldn't read, but I just had this major problem with reading out loud. And I say all of that because, you know, a lot of kids are suffering from that even to this day, you know. And I think that once you give a kid confidence, you know, they can do anything. A lot of times it's not just the bullying that's coming from their peers, but even the fact that the way that you as a parent may respond to them. You know, even if it's the way that a teacher responds. I volunteer at schools, and sometimes I see the teacher as this, like, I'm fed up with this little kid, you know what I'm saying? And even that, you know, it plays a big role in the kid's mind, you know what I mean? And so for me as a kid, looking at those kind of things, it terrified me. So anytime it came to anything to do with reading or learn, you know, or reading or writing or spelling, because I was a bad speller, I wouldn't even try. So I would be sitting up in the classroom not even learning, you know. And so, like I said that, and it just, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I say that mainly because this is something that we all need to be aware of, you know, especially in the bullying culture that we have. But back to what I was saying was that I was the least likely to want to write a book. And when he gave me this idea, I tried to pass it off to my sister, because my sister, she was 2 years younger than me. She was an avid reader. She loved to read, you know. And so I tried to pass it off to her because she this is what she said she liked to do. And I said, you got to do this. And she said, okay, it's a great idea. We brainstormed. We actually came up with this idea together, but she didn't write it. And so I went to her. I came back and forth, back. I called my other sister up, asked her. She said, I don't have the time to do it. And what I heard the Lord telling me is that, you know, I gave this to you for you to do, you know. And so I said, okay. And I just buckled down and I did it. And then after that, I wrote another one. And then after that, I wrote another one. And so here it is. I had 3 picture book manuscripts. And I said, okay, now what am I going to do with these? You know, now it's time to go and try to find a publisher. And also I started on two novels, and I just got done with my first novel last night. So you guys get to read that here too soon. But so I started looking at traditional publishing. And one of the things that happened when I went to traditional publishers, I reached out to a lot of people because I believe in networking. And so I went to these different little groups. I signed up to be in these different groups. I contacted like the head of different societies, you know, writer societies and stuff like that. And I reached out to some people, and some of the people were telling me, you know, you could be a really prolific writer. You know, I think I have a partner that'll take you on, but you have to drop God out of your book. You have to drop prayer out of your book. And see, with this book, this was my baby right here. Like, this is what I got directly from God. I said, there's no way that I could drop him out of this. You know what I mean? And so I said, I can't do it. And so I started looking at different interviews, and I started looking at different agents. And most of the agents, they were all saying, you know, they don't want anything to do with God. They don't want, like, usually they'll pass if you put anything to do with God in it, because the major thing is when you go to schools, public school systems, they don't want religious kind of books. You know what I mean? And so it lessens your ability to sell, because you have to key in on this little small market, you know. And I was already looking at religious like books, spiritual books and stuff like that. And every time I came in contact with one, it wasn't one that I really thought that I liked personally. So I wanted to draw something. I wanted to have something that could keep kids' interest. I said, how about a superhero, you know what I mean, named Bright, you know? And so I went from there, and I said, okay, since the traditional route isn't going to be the way, let's look at the self-publishing industry. And when I looked at the self-publishing industry, I found out that everything about self-publishing was everything that fit me. Because I'm not the person that want to give anybody all the creative control. I'm the person that don't mind getting out there and going door to door. I don't mind speaking to people, right? So I said, how about let's just do this self-publishing thing? And I said, let's take it a step further than that. How about let's start a publishing company? And so I started a publishing company called 215 Publishing. I got my LLC, and I said everything is going to be done under 215 Publishing, hence 215 watts that my friend, my partner over here, Dana, because Dana is my partner in the apparel company 215 watts. And I said, so I'm going to start 215 Publishing. Everything is going to be based on being a light of this world, because that's what I want. That's what I want to be known for. That's what our whole goal is. We had many conversations on being the light of this world, shining in a dark world. And I believe if we can take that message to kids, we can change the world, right? One person at a time. One person at a time, you know. And we're using Bright as the avenue, you know what I mean? But it's so much bigger than Bright, because it's each and every person, not just the little kids, right? You as an adult can read this book today and you can get something out of it, I guarantee. This is not just for kids. This message is for everybody, right? And so that's pretty much how the whole bright and the bully came up. I said, so what's a topic that we can use? You know, we know that we want to be the light of this world, but what's a topic? What's something that's really prevalent right here today? And we said bullying. And I had a young lady that was supposed to be down here. I wanted to recognize. Her name is Jalissa Williams. But I was a bus driver for Dean Transportation down here in Albion. And she was one of my students. And Juju, I call her the boss, you know, because she was one of them kids that didn't care about speaking up, you know what I mean? She didn't care about going against other kids and stuff like that. So what I did was I inherited this bus that was unruly, like all of the kids were everywhere. Everybody didn't want to deal with it. And, you know, I said, you know, give me the worst route, you know what I mean? I said, I know a lot of these kids' parents and stuff, so, you know, I'll get it together. This is my first time ever driving a bus and anything, but I just felt like this is my hometown. I'm not gonna let no whole lot of kids just run over me. This is my mindset. But when I got there, it was really crazy. It was really crazy. And so what I did is I took Juju and I took her and I took a couple other of the people the kids on the bus. And I said, you guys are going to be my helpers. You're going to be my monitors. And what I would do is every morning I would let all the other kids off and I would have a personal talk one-on-one with them. Because I was training them at the same time. Even though they were good kids, they still had some bad behaviors too. I was training them every day on what I wanted them to do and how I wanted them to do it, you know. Because when you give a kid power, they could become bullies themselves. They could start abusing their power. And, you know, so I started working with them, and at the end of the week, I'll buy them some Takis, I'll buy them whatever they want. You know, I say, whatever you want, up to $5, I'm going to get it for you. And so they had a little job on the bus. But what happened was, you know, they started standing up for the right things because I was counseling them on a daily basis. And one day it was this other young girl on the bus, and I'm not going to say her name, but she said, she asked, can I sit next to you because everybody hates me? And I was like, I said, nah, everybody don't. I started trying to tell her that everybody don't hate her, but then I looked around and I was like, wow, you know, I mean, from the looks of it, they all really do kind of hate her. They don't want her to sit with them. You know, and I'm saying this because a lot of times bullying goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
You as an adult may not even be seeing what's really going on, but when I really thought about it and started looking at it, I said, man, this is really going on. This girl isn't really just making these things up, you know. And so I told her, yes, she could sit up there. I got her a seat right next to me, but that day I talked to Juju and I talked to the rest to my helpers, and I tried to explain to them about bullying and about how she was feeling, because her feelings are valid, you know what I mean? Because everybody shunned her. And so I was trying to talk to them about how we're going to deal with this and, you know, the way to treat people and stuff like that. And about a week later, Jalissa had spoke up for the girl one time, and then the other girl, Passionate, as soon as she got off the bus, like, she just let everybody have it, because she was my first stop. She let everybody have it, and she told them that, you know, they had no right to be doing that. You know, she set everybody straight, and from there, everybody stopped bullying her. And so when I wrote this book, I wanted to not focus on the bully. If you read this book, you really see that the bully is not even in the book. The bully is all coming from by way of imagination. It's by them telling a story about what the bully did. But he's not actually dealt with firsthand. What we're really dealing with is we're dealing with the bystander, right? Because if you got a group of people over here, right here, and you got one bully right here, if you say something, most likely you can put an end to it. If you say something, especially if we all say something together, we can put an end to bullying. But the reason why bullying continues is because it's always the audience. It's always bystanders that's sitting up there sometimes laughing. I'm going to show you the picture. This is the perfect picture of the bystander. I'm gonna show you guys. And I love the illustration. My illustrator did such a great job. You see this? All of these guys over here sitting over here snickering and stuff like that. You know, up there you see the little the laughter. That's who we wanted to deal with. We wanted to deal with the bystander, the people who are not saying anything. You know, how many times have something happened in front of you and you just kept quiet? You know, I like that show, What Would You Do? What would you do? You know what I mean? It really shows that most people are just comfortable staying quiet and just letting things go past. And I believe that this really weighed on my heart because this is something that has been with me since I was a kid myself. I never liked bullying. I never would stay quiet. I got off the bus when I was I think I was in a junior high school, over here at the high school. And there was 3 kids that were standing off in the far. And one kid, Jamie Hensley, I don't know, some people might know Jamie Hensley, but he was walking past and there was 3 kids that spit. They all spit. 2 of them missed and 1 of them hit him. It made me so irate. I went over, because I could sometimes be a bully of bullies. So I went over there and started bullying them, and I made him go tell. I made him go tell on him and get him suspended and everything. But it's something that always been in my heart. I do not like people taking advantage of other people. And so that's where this book came from. This was the inspiration of this book was really because I think in order for you to be the light of the world, you can't keep quiet. And we live in a culture right now that everybody's going to just keep quiet. And so this is where this book came from. I don't know. That's where it was birthed from. We're gonna do a series with this with Bright, and the next book is going to be called I Am Bright. And I Am Bright is going to be talking about how he actually became bright. Because I've gotten it. I've already wrote it. I just now have to get it edited and things like that. But I Am Bright. This is just the first one of the series, and that's where it came from. I don't know. I'm kind of just freestyling here, but if you guys have any questions or anything, you know, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Anybody got any questions?
Talk about your illustrator and how you got that done.
Okay, yeah. The illustrator, so the thing about illustration is when it comes to a picture book, the pictures have to tell the story. It's almost more important for pictures than it is the words. And so you have this thing that in the writing industry they say, show through your words and not tell. And so my first manuscript had a lot of telling. I had a lot of telling in it. You know, I was just telling the story. But I had to condense the story because the least words, the better. So a standard picture book should be 600 to 700 words, not getting up to 1,000 words like the old fairy tale books and stuff like that. And so I had to go and I had to break it down. And in that, I was working with a gentleman who was doing my illustrations, and he was a good friend of mine. And even though I liked his artwork, I didn't feel like the illustrations was matching what I had in my head. So when it comes to getting an illustrator,